Seit der Finanzkrise 2007 und den darauffolgenden Sparmaßnahmen der Troika gab es viele Budgetkürzungen im griechischen Gesundheitssektor. Infolge dessen brach für viele arme und arbeitslose Griechen die Gesundheitsversorgung zusammen. Als Reaktion darauf gründeten sich im ganzen Land Solidaritätskliniken, um die medizinische Versorgung weiterhin zu gewährleisten. Im Rahmen eines Seminars zur Krise in Griechenland unter der Leitung von Prof. Dr. Belina fuhren im Juni 2017 24 Geografiestudenten der Goethe-Universität Frankfurt am Main nach Athen, um die Auswirkungen der Krise zu untersuchen. Um mehr Informationen über die Kliniken und deren Arbeit zu bekommen, führten wir ein Interview mit Kostas Kokosis, einem Mitarbeiter der Solidaritätsklinik K.I.F.A.
My name is Konstantin, or abbreviated form, Kostas Kokosis, and I am here as a volunteer from the very beginning of this foundation or polyclinic and pharmacy. We are almost 5 years old. I am a retired administrative officer from the foreign ministry, and getting my pension, I thought in those days it was the peak of the crisis, that it's worth having participation in such an initiative. Just very briefly, we are not here, we are not an NGO, a non-governmental organization. In other words, it means that we don't get funds regularly from an organization, from the government, from the state, foreign states, etc., etc. We are just volunteers. We're not paid for anything. We get not, unfortunately, donations by Greek pharmaceutical companies, but we do receive medicine from, solidarity activists from abroad. I rush to say that the more active in this field are our friends in Germany. We are focusing only on medical activity. And we don't offer here anything else but medical assistance. It was impossible to get any medical care because the law did not permit you to get public health care 3 months after you lose your job. Full stop. Now this government, the present government, tried hard to convince our creditors that I can't survive as a society, as a government, as a political party, without assuring and securing for these people this kind of medical treatment. At the very beginning, the creditors, including your ministers, I mean the Minister of Finance of Germany, objected to that, denied that categorically, but at last they realized that it couldn't be possible for society to live like that. And of course, this is combined with the refugee numbers, which were really too many. So they succeeded in providing for everybody, regardless if you have a job or you are a jobless guy, you can, since last August, to get your medical assistance. Yeah. That was a turning point for us, because all the Greeks now have access to the public health network. Nowadays, the patients who come here, they are either Greeks who, although they have access now to the health system, they cannot buy the medicines. They are prescribed by the doctors of the state system, doctors of the national health system, or there are the foreigners who Either they are illegally staying here. Once they need medical support, they can't go. They cannot go to whatever public health instance. Yeah. And of course, recently, you certainly know that, we have the horrible number of the refugees, immigrants, and so on and so forth. There is epidemic illnesses because they live all together in the hot spots. And if they have children, all of a sudden, all of them, they get the flu, get the diarrhea, they get this kind of things, and they need quantity. Mm-hmm. And this is the problem. Yeah. For them and for us, of course, in order to provide. Yeah. So this is how we work. There is a not work, not only in the overall metropolitan area, mm-hmm. but there is also some about 80 similar solidarity groups and foundations, initiatives all over Greece. Quite recently, the number was increased concerning the islands because it was the islands who received at first stage all the refugees coming from Turkey. Mm-hmm. I said that there is a turning point, a milestone last year. From the very moment we established this Solidarity Polyclinic, mm-hmm. we declared, and this is written in our website, that initiatives of this kind, we are not the only one, initiatives of this kind cannot and should not substitute the state. Mm-hmm. The absolute, the basic, the fundamental limits and level must be assured by the state. So this is what we still believe now. So we still function because now, number one, the budget of the hospital and the public health ministry is very much loaded, number one. And we are afraid if there might be cuts in the future. Number two, because we have the phenomenon of foreigners, I mean immigrants and refugees. And you can't leave them without medical assistance, without medicine. 3 months ago, the world doctors, they are enabled to us, they made us known that, look, from now on, we will not take care of any poor Greeks not being able to buy their own medicine, because we are going from now on to treat only foreigners, immigrants. Mm-hmm. But we cannot and we do not and we should not make any distinction. Mm-hmm. Either Greek, whatever Greek, insured, non-insured, foreigner, whoever. I would say that even in Greece, mm-hmm. some 10 years ago, the system it was similar, mm-hmm. more or less, to what was in Western Europe. Mm-hmm. As I know that there are, to a certain extent, a greater extent even today in Europe. But the problem is that between 2008-9 until last year, it was a catastrophe. Yeah. Because they were cutting from the sectors that they shouldn't have touched upon. Mm-hmm. Okay? Yeah. So instead of cutting the budget of this or the other ministry, I don't want to mention names, of course, but they were touching upon the public health and education ministry. So it was a catastrophe. We have to take care. We shouldn't expect everything from the state. I repeat once again, we say and we stress and we repeat, we underline, we cannot substitute the state in no way. But on the other hand, we can do a lot. Mm-hmm. How Ernest Hemingway wrote, don't ask for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for you. So maybe today it is for her the problem, but maybe the following day it will be for me, or for my relative, or for my friend. So it changed very much, and we saw that it was not so much selfish, the new Greek type of man. So it comes from your inside, because you feel that. But apart from the charity motives, you realize that I have to do that in order to make him or her sensitive about the situation. Mm-hmm. So I have to come, to get in share information, sensitivity with everybody I can find in my radius in order to make people informed, sensitive, and touching about the social problems. Mm-hmm. I don't mean politicized. If you think theoretically, philosophically, yes, you can say yes. You are a conscious citizen. This is what we need. We say, look, here we are all volunteers. We don't get any money. Even the people who provide us with the funds and the donation, they give it because they trust us or because they trust our initiative. Mm-hmm. You know, it is very, very touching. When we come the morning to see plastic bags, if you are on the oven, piled on our doorstep. So there are people who do not want to be known. I am Mr. X, I am Mr. X, I brought this medicine left over from my diseased mother, father, relatives. They just do that and they go like that. To the same extent, I would say that, and this is another issue we have to face. We say, look, don't speak about the Germans. This is not Germans. We have a lot of people from Germany who are sending quantities of what can I say to them? So you say you can't group people. Mm-hmm. There are always good and bad. Look, we have a close cooperation even with the public health sector. There is a foreigner or someone who is insured and he has the possibility to get into a hospital. Once he gets out of the hospital, he needs to be treated for a period of 2 months with some medicine. In that case, they call us from the social service of the hospital and say, Mr. X is getting out of the hospital, but he needs for 2 months this kind of medicine. Could you provide for them? Once this famous decision of last August was taken, there was an assembly here of all our people saying, look, what we're going now to do. Of course, we had already the number of the refugees. So there was a great category of people, a numerous category of people needing this cover. And we said, maybe they don't need us anymore. Mm-hmm. We say, and what about wait and see a little bit? It was the case precisely. They needed maybe more than before. So I can't predict. We are crossing the fingers for not having any further cut. If there is no economic development, mm-hmm. It means that, according to the memorandum or to the agreement signed even yesterday in the Eurogroup, there will be no progress, there will be no surplus, and once there will be no surplus, there must be further cuts. Further cuts from where? It will be from Defense Ministry as well. But I have the feeling that the very first ministry they will target will be the public health, the educational ministry, and so on and so forth. So we are crossing our fingers that the government says we stand for not, etc. But you know, once you are pressed at the gunpoint, you change your mind overnight like that. Look, at my age, I would say that education and health system is the criteria to check against the civil progress of a society. So if you have a good health system, you're a good state. If you have a good educational system, you're a good state. Okay? If you have a good defense system, like Saudi Arabia, this does not mean that you have a good state, dear boys and girls. So, it is a major problem. It cannot be seen or analyzed or treated separately. This is the master plan of the people who are running the state, the politicians, how they want to have society. So if they want to have whatever model of society without fact, without education, this is up to us who elected these guys. So the problem is, what is the master plan? What is we as society we want to see for our children? Because we are, what we can provide, we are quite realistic here, because we are mature people, we are not youngsters, we were going to change the world. No. Our contribution, I would say it is maybe important, this is not for me to assess that, but it is marginal, because we are speaking about 11 million people. Yeah. So 11 million people compared with the 25,000 people treated from the moment we established that, this is nothing. Okay, I accept. Mm-hmm. You see, so yes, we accept that we are not, let's say, the Red Cross, for goodness sake. No. Mm-hmm. No. So this is, as I said, very supplementary. That's why we stress we cannot substitute the state. It is impossible. It is out of question.